Kyle here from allmeatreviews.blogspot.com. So I decided just gonna wrap up all the Marillion stuff for now until, like I said, an hour before it's dark comes out sometime in 2022, for the most part. So I'm gonna talk about my concert experiences with Marillion. So the deal was with Marillion, of course, I got into them 95, May of 95, 96, 97. Of course, I wanted to see them live. I mean, Dream Theater was a similar deal. I wanted to see them live, and they had come to my town a few times, and I didn't know about that. But I did finally see them in 97, but it was sort of like, all right, I've seen Dream Theater, I need to see Marillion. Fate's Warning also eventually became on that list, but and I'd seen Rush, of course, but when am I going to see Marillion? They're from England, of course, they don't tour over here and they're just, well, they were not teeny, they just never really got to be well known enough to demand a tour, and they never compromised, even when they were on EMI, the major label. So I knew about the tour that the fans in North America helped fund for them in 97 for the This Strange Engine tour. I heard about it, or read about it rather. But first of all, it wasn't coming here because they haven't played in my hometown in Minnesota, Minneapolis, or St. Paul since 1987 with Fish. Of course, I don't know the date on that. I was probably 11 or 12 years old then, and I didn't even know who they were, and I wasn't a concert goer at that point, so I couldn't go to that. And a couple other times they'd played the Civic Center in St. Paul with Rush before that. So, but I knew about that, but I just couldn't justify. I couldn't afford it. I remember hearing about that, and I was like, I don't even know. I might have heard it after the fact because of 97, or it might have been. I think it was 97. Probably the fall of 97. I just knew about it and heard about it somewhat after the fact, like on the email list and stuff like that. So, I thought, well, that might be my only chance to ever see this band because, they're from England. Who knows if they're continuing going to be around. And so, of course, you're following them online. They put out, Radiation and, the Tales from the Engine Room, and then Marillion.com in 99. And then Anoractophobia in 2001, and then I think right around the time Anoractophobia, or like 99, they had their first fan weekend, or later on, 2000, right around that time the first fan weekends happened in the early 2000s, I think it was. And it was like this really big deal, and they held it in Holland. I'm pretty sure it was in Holland, yeah, Amsterdam. And then eventually they were planning on a fan weekend in Montreal, but I think that was later. Anyway, I basically come to the feeling, I got so frustrated never being able to see them live that I was going to go to one of the weekends, no matter how much money it was going to be. It was going to be, $1,500, $2,000, whatever, especially consider inflation and everything. That was a lot of money for someone who was in their early 20s, who was, working an hourly wage. And anyway, I was going to do that, and, well, backtrack a little bit. So I did go to Nearfest, Northeast Art Rock Festival, in the year 2000 in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, with some friends that I really didn't know. It was the weirdest thing. I really didn't know them all that well. I met them, but it's like I was, just because we like this progressive rock stuff, it's like we can be friends. That's this friend of mine named Creighton that I did a radio show with, ultimately helped. He would come on my radio show, or the radio stuff I did with him at KFAI. But so Nearfest had Transatlantic, their first live show ever. That was June of 2000. Get the exact date. I got my list here. Yeah, it was June 17th, the year in 2000. I think that was a Sunday. Yeah, it must have been Sunday night. And they even did, because Transatlantic has Pete Travois was from Marillion, and they even did part of The Great Escape. So I kind of felt like, well, I may never see this band live, my favorite band, but at least I got to see one of the members play a little bit of music. So I was getting goosebumps. That medley they did with Dream Theater, Finally Free, and I'm not sure it was probably Go the Way You Go from Spock's Beer, and the Flower Kings song, I can't remember, Back in the World of Adventures or something. But anyway, and I don't remember if I actually got to meet Pete. I thought thought I did. Yes, I did. I kind of remember going up to him. It's like, it was really special that you did The Great Escape. I'm a huge Marillion fan. He's like, well, I did my best. I'm not Hogarth, but So, but I was getting frustrated. Like, when am I ever gonna get to see this band? So then finally, 2004, the first time they finally figured out a way to afford at least going that much into debt, or at least the plan was to avoid going into debt and tour here to support Marbles. And of course they weren't coming to Minneapolis, they weren't coming to Milwaukee either, but they did come because they played Milwaukee in '97. That would have been where I probably would have gone, but I didn't. Again, I couldn't. I'd never driven when I was whatever it was. I've been driving for like 3 years and never driven cross country, even to Milwaukee, which is 5 hours. But but I was like, I don't care anymore. I'm doing this. And they did the one show in Chicago, and it was at the Park West. Get the exact date. At that point, I'd been a fan. Yeah, it was October 2nd, 2004. I don't remember what day of the week it was. It'd be interesting to find that, look that up. If I go out, 2004, which is right literally less than a month of the time that I started the company I'm still at, which is ironic, or maybe there was something meaning to that. October 2nd, 2000. That was a Saturday night. The Park West, and it was special. It was a special show, special trip on the way down. I just gotten the Clutch. I was listening to the Clutching at Straws remaster. I remember, but I met some friends. This girl named, I think her name was Karen or something like that. And then we hung out before the show and after the show. And I remember some guy said, when they were playing The Only Other Forgivable Thing, the only other forgivable thing is to talk during a Marillion concert. They did do The Great Escape. They did 3 encores. I think I actually have a tape of it still, because I think I found a way to get a live recording. But it was an epic show, and then I got to meet the band afterwards. I went up to, I have a picture of Hogarth and me somewhere, maybe on MySpace or something. But anyway, so yeah, I met him. I told him how much Brave meant to me and some other stuff. Of just like, helped me through a lot of depression and that kind of stuff. And he was like, he had kissed me on the forehead or something. Meeting Rother. I remember Mark Kelly was, both him and Ian, especially Mark, was smoking. Not that I have anything against people that smoke or anything, but I didn't realize he was a smoker. But whatever. I'm not sure he still is. But all of them were just really cordial, and just it was fulfilling. I was like, and I've been waiting over 7 years. Over 7 years? Almost 10, like 9.5 years actually. I was like asking who has been waiting this long, but so yeah, and I went home, and actually around the time I went to Prague Par USA a few weeks before and see Pain of Salvation, and I saw Brian Wilson do all of Smile in Minneapolis a couple days before that. And he was actually in Chicago doing Smile the same night, if I recall. So, I mean, I was going to see Marillion, but it would have been nice to see him again do that. That was a really enjoyable concert experience, too. But so I'm just going to kind of go fast forward in the brief amount of experiences I got to see them again. So what happened it was the following June. That was October of 2004. June 19th, right before my birthday. Just, I think for cost purposes, because it's just more affordable, they decided to not go as a full band, but have 3 of them. So it was Hogarth, Rothery, and Pete Trewawis, I believe. I believe Mark Kelly and Ian Mosley stayed home. I'm pretty sure. The Los Marillios Trio, so that was June 19th. That was at the Double Door in Chicago. And that was a fun show. This guy named Jason Hart opened. Oh, I forgot to mention that, was it John Wesley opened at the show in Chicago. He did Run Like Hell by Pink Floyd. But, yeah, Jason Hart, he even did Kaylee, I think, as part of his set. He did a cover of this guy, Jason Hart. I don't know whatever happened to him, but it was a neat deal. It was more intimate, although I remember it being still pretty crowded at the Double Door. And among all the Marillion shows I went to, I mean, I guess that's probably the one I remember the least. But it was still an enjoyable show. I remember meeting Lucy Jordash outside. She was wearing this exact shirt, or I was wearing. I've got a picture of that. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the full Marillion, but it was 3, and they played a pretty good set, I remember, but a lot of it was like, it wasn't acoustic, but some of it was sort of acoustic. It was a little different, given it was only the second time I'd seen them, I was still kind of like, well, this was great. I love seeing them again finally second time within a year, but it's not the full band deal that I got the year before, so forgot to mention the fact they did Invisible Man at that show. They didn't do Ocean Cloud at the Chicago show, but I beggars can't be choosers. I was just happy to see them. I think they did all of Thrift Strange Engine also. I'd have to look at the set list. I'll have to look it up. So that was the last time I saw them for many years then. They didn't come here to support somewhere else or to support Happiness is the Road. But then they booked 2 shows. It was like and I was like, I still would love to go to one of those weekends, but when I met my wife, the budget just didn't work out, and so, but they did do another tour to support Sounds That Can't Be Made, which, as I jogged my memory to remember that Sounds That Can't Be Made was actually not been released at the show that I saw them, or the 2 shows actually that I and my wife Joyce, my girlfriend at the time, saw again at Chicago at the Park West, and it was right around my birthday. It was June 23rd and 22nd, 23rd, I think, of 2012. And it was the same venue that I'd seen them the first time. It was with Joyce. I remember we went to dinner. I want to say we went the first night and then went to dinner with my brother at Roy's. It doesn't agree with me, but it had my favorite dessert the night before. It was just a few days after my birthday, so it was a big deal in 2012. It was different mainly because I was with Joyce. My girlfriend at the time, Joyce, didn't know Marillion. I was trying to play her a lot of their music for here and there. Her motivation was just to go to Chicago. My brother was there. Like I said, we went to dinner with my brother. He was living there at the time. The previous 2 shows he was not, I don't think. I can't remember 2005 if I actually ended up driving down. I probably did, but I don't remember. I may have just flown down and taken the train over. But anyway, it was back-to-back nights, and I remember a lot about it. I mean, it was both shows. The only thing I kind of was a little bit frustrated was they were supposed to. One of the biggest motivations to going to the Chicago show, because I was thinking maybe I could go somewhere else. A bunch of these different tours. The tour in 2004, I was going to try hitting more than one show. I was hoping that the set list would at least be different, and they decided they were going to do that originally. They decided not to, I don't think, largely because they thought, well, not everyone was going to go to both shows, which I guess, but my argument was counter to that in that most of the people that are going to these shows are big enough Marillion fans they wouldn't want to miss one. Anyway, and actually I remember because Dream Theater were in town the same night as one of those shows. I ran into Jordan Roos from Dream Theater and I was like, why aren't they sharing the bill together? But they did do Ocean Cloud, I believe, at that show. I'm pretty sure at those shows. And they did Invisible Man. So they did a lot of the favorites from Marbles. I remember the set list being kind of similar, not identical, but kind of similar. Other than the new stuff, they did "Happiness Is the Road," the title track. They've done "Trap the Spark." They didn't do a lot from that record. They didn't do anything from somewhere else, but they did some of the new record. They did "Power" and I think the title track from Sounds That Can't Be Made. But I also remember we met Hogarth just in the hallway. I don't know if anyone opened. I don't think they had an opener for that show. At least we didn't see it. We met Hogarth, and I told him how much my wife loved the Monkees. Like, would Marillion ever do the Monkees? Like, well, they said they'd covered Pleasant Valley Sunday at one of the, or they thought about it at one of the fan weekends, fan conventions. But it was great. Although, being there with Joyce was a little bit different. I was trying to socialize, but I didn't socialize to the same degree I normally would have. And also, I didn't know, I didn't find as many people to, talk with. Because part of it is we went to the show, we saw the show, and then we kind of went home both nights. And so, I guess that's part of the deal, especially, and I had gone to a lot of concerts for her favorite bands, like the Monkees and Josh Rouse and Mayer Hawthorne, or at least I was in the process. And so, it was kind of a give and take thing, but it basically was 2 long shows, not nice for her. And while she totally respected, like, Hogarth is a great front man, and given the fact she didn't know any of the music, and typically it wasn't her type of music exactly, some of the poppy elements she liked, it was kind of like, you know, it was her first and last Marillion shows. The same thing happened with the Deer Hunter ones. So I guess that does stand out as much as anything else about those 2 shows. But I still love to see them, you know, and those were, you know, so then they did, again, they toured, they didn't tour that much, and they put out, of course, the Fear album in 2016. It was right around my wedding, and I was like, how am I going to go to this? Because everything financially was being put toward the wedding, and then my car, too. I had to get a new car. But I just could not, at least. So they did 2 shows again in Chicago. This time it was at, do I have it here? The Vic Theater. And John Wesley opened again. But they did 2 shows, and that was also, as it turned out, after I bought the ticket, because I bought my ticket like in August, and again, I didn't know if it made sense to afford it, but I just said, the heck with it, I'm buying the ticket. But it was only 1 ticket. I went to 1 show, and they did 2. But I guess it was similar in that most of the set list was similar. I don't know if it was identical at the Vic Theater, but it was also when the Cubs were in the World Series, and I didn't obviously anticipate this. So my memories of that show were as much about being amongst Cubs fans. The Vic Theater was literally like less than a mile probably from Wrigley Field. It was the night of Game 3, the first game that was in Wrigley Field for that World Series, and being on the L and everything. And I went by myself. Joyce didn't come in, and she wasn't going to do that again. I met my friend John and some other people from the Twin Cities here, which was nice, and it was a neat deal. So it was a little more social, and my friend Heidi and some other people. It was more social. And they did a good amount. I think they did El Dorado and or New Kings. But they did a lot of the same kind of epics that I remember them doing in 2004 and 2012 for Marbles, which was kind of nice, but at the same time I felt like I'm going back in time and seeing some of the same show. But, you know, it was great to see them, especially, again, at the first time in 4 years. And I kind of wish I had gone to both shows, because there was someone actually who went to the first show, because I was going to the second show, that ended up going to the World Series the next night. But also going to that Al's, which the beef place, the whatever it was, the Al's hot beef sandwich place that I'd gone to and ate dinner with Ben Sinister, members of Ben Sinister, a few years back. And it was good, but it was not as good as when I had it back in whenever that was, 2012 or 2013. So anyway, that's kind of some summary or the details of all my live Marillion experiences. All been in Chicago, but you know, I never got to see Fish. He did play literally like a month after in Milwaukee, after I'd been to see Liquid Tension Experiment in Chicago, and I remember I wanted to go to that, but it's just. Even the show in 2012, I ended up missing the Deer Hunter Color Spectrum concert that I bought a ticket for, and the John Art show, and then the Kevin Gilbert, Shaman the True full band, full live experience out in California. But it was, all 4 of those shows were within about less than a month, and I couldn't afford it. You know, you only have so much money. I don't have the money for all this stuff, but those were my live experiences. I don't know the next time I'll get to see them. Hopefully the show that was in 2016 is not the last one, and hopefully everything with COVID and stuff isn't going to prevent them from touring. They're going to do some touring in Europe and in the UK in November, but you know, they plan to do more touring hopefully in the next few years, and touring to support the new record An Hour Before It's Dark. But I don't know, you know, I was of the belief that basically when 2004 happened, that might be my first and last time ever to see them on a tour. Going to one of the weekends, I'd love to do it still. It still will cost a pretty penny. You're talking probably $1,500, $2,000. Probably in Montreal. I always believed that they should have tried to hold one in Las Vegas or Chicago, because it's more of a central hub, and Las Vegas is like a convention town. But they used to bring up the arguments left and right, and it just was more affordable, more doable in Montreal. But it's more money for people like me to travel, obviously, even across the border for that. So, but hopefully I'll have another chance to see them, if not go to one of the weekends. Because if I go to the one weekends, it's going to be myself again, and, you know, I'll get the third degree from the wife. There has to be sort of a trade-off. Why I haven't gone any of these progressive rock cruises and all this stuff. It's just, and I've learned through all, like, you know, going to Nearfest and taking these trips for shows. It's a lot of money. You know, there's ways to try to afford to save money, stay at an Airbnb like I did in 2016, and that worked out. But it's expensive, and you know, you have a passion for music. We're going to Milwaukee to see the Monkees. We wouldn't be doing that in a little over a month if we had known that there was going to be a Minneapolis show, but the Milwaukee show got booked first. So, but yeah, maybe if I get the chance, I'll do a video about that. You know, we're seeing the Monkees twice. Nez and Nesmith. Everything with Nesmith and his condition is a different story, but Monkees twice in November, back-to-back nights on a Saturday and a Sunday in Milwaukee, and then here in Minneapolis, and then Mayor Hawthorne and Josh Rouse, or Josh Rouse before that, and Mayor Hawthorne, and a couple other shows. But you know, with COVID and stuff, it's just, you know, things are unclear still. You know, I want things to go back to normal, and then we can start going back to some concerts. They're expensive, but at the same time, you got to be safe. And I was gonna go to see Alan Parsons Project last week, I think it was, yeah, and it got postponed. So I don't know if these other shows, the Monkey shows, and Josh Rouse and Mayor Hawthorne the same thing will happen to. Dream Theater's coming too, but I don't know if I'm gonna go. I kind of lean toward not going. There's some other Bent Knees coming. There's other shows that are coming up, but at this point, I just want to stay safe. I'm vaccinated, but you know, I'm also diabetic, so that doesn't help my cause, and that's why I'm going to get a booster in a couple months. So, but anyway, this wraps up, I think, the Marillion series of videos over the last 3 months, and I'll probably include this on that video list. So I'm not going to say what band should I do next, because I've already started the Deer Hunter, but I may try to do something similar with some of the other staples. I want to get to the other, like, progressive rock, modern progressive rock stuff like the Mars Volta and Muse and Coheed and Cambria. But I'm thinking about this. I could do something similar with the album series, with Dream Theater, with Fate's Warning. I don't know about Rush, because Rush and Yes and Genesis even, they'll be kind of time consuming. The bands and artists that have smaller catalogs, I could potentially do. But anyway, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.